5 Reasons You Should Never Visit Uncontacted Tribes. Introduction. On the 31st of March 2025, Mykhailo Polyakova, a 24-year-old YouTuber from Scottsdale, Arizona, was arrested for attempting to make contact with the uncontacted Sentinelese tribe of North Sentinel Island. The local fisherman who spotted him on the island said that Mykhailo had blown a whistle in an attempt to lure the tribesmen out, and when he got no response, he left a can of Coca-Cola and a coconut as a peace offering. Mykhailo is not the first person to attempt contact with isolated tribes. In fact, he is one of the lucky ones to have made it out alive without being attacked by the often territorial tribesmen. In November 2018, an American missionary was killed by the Sentinelese after attempting to convert them to Christianity. Forced contact over the years, as well as Mykhailo's recent actions, have again sparked outrage from many indigenous activists who continue to advocate for the uncontacted tribe's right to be left alone, citing clear examples of their hostility to visitors as a sign that they do not want to be contacted ever. Despite warnings about their imminent extinction from forced contact, a growing number of intruders, including Christian missionaries and commercial companies, have continued to push the limits of their existence. In this video, we bring you 5 main reasons you should never try to contact uncontacted tribes. They're territorial. There are about 100 known uncontacted tribes in the world today, with possibly dozens more unknown. Majority of them live in different parts of the Amazon rainforest across Brazil, Peru, and India's Andaman Islands. Many of these tribes are aware of the existence of modern civilization in neighboring villages, yet intentionally choose to remain hidden within dense jungles, showing hostility by leaving crossed spears in the forest, aiming arrows at passing planes, and running into hiding whenever they sense outsiders approaching. Up until the early 2000s, the only evidence of their existence came from aerial footage, satellite images, or stories passed down from their exposed neighboring communities. But that has changed over the years. Apart from the usual suspects like miners and Christian missionaries, content creators have posed another major problem, intruding on these uncontacted peoples and documenting their lifestyle for clout and personal gains. While this happens, the few remaining uncontacted tribes are becoming increasingly hostile in protecting themselves from external contact. Exposure to common viruses could wipe them out. Despite surviving in dense jungles for centuries, isolated tribes are actually some of the most vulnerable people on Earth. Close contact with outsiders can expose them to foreign viruses and diseases that can cause respiratory infections capable of wiping out their entire communities. This is because they have never been exposed to these viruses, and their bodies have never had a cause to build the needed resistance to the common viruses and diseases that modern societies have. So, any contact with visitors, even as simple as breathing the same air or a handshake, can unleash a plague capable of wiping them all out. And this was tragically experienced by the Zoe tribe of the Amazon rainforest in North Brazil. The Zoes lived peacefully in the Amazon's forest for centuries until their existence was discovered in the 1980s by a plane scouting the area for mineral resources. Following this discovery, the Brazilian missionary community set out on a missionary expedition to liberate the people from their dark ways. They started by dropping gifts from a plane to the people before finally establishing a base near their territory. In November 1987, the missionaries made their first close contact with them, but this contact would turn out deadly for the indigenous people. The Zoes started to fall ill from common cold and flu, which they had no immunity for. The virus spread rapidly, killing more than half of their original population. As the situation worsened, the government expelled the missionaries from the area and established a medical base camp to treat the sick Zoe people instead of transferring them to the city, where they would be at a bigger risk of being exposed to foreign viruses. But it's not just introduced diseases that's wiping these tribes out. They're victims of exploitation. Some of these tribes have witnessed the genocidal extinction of their people due to close contact with foreigners. Many who did not experience the genocide have heard stories from neighboring tribes who suffered mass extinction after welcoming outsiders to their homes. In the 1980s, a group of Brazilian gold miners invaded a Yanomami village and massacred over 40 people, including women and newborn babies who could not flee into the forest, dumping their bodies in the river and burning their homes. The Akuntsu tribe in western Brazil are another group that suffered a similar tragic fate. In 1996, their land was taken over by cattle ranchers who murdered their people and bulldozed their homes to cover the evidence. Today, only 5 people make up the Akuntsu tribe, the last remaining survivors of their people. One of the survivors, named Pupak, still has lead shot buried in his back, a constant reminder of the massacre. Other tribes, like the Nukak tribe in Colombia, who originally lived a nomadic hunter-gatherer lifestyle, have been forced to the outskirts of their rainforest due to encroachment by cocaine growers and illegal loggers. Today, the once noble Nukak tribe now live in displaced settlements across Colombia, mostly at the mercy of their exploiters, who have left them in worse conditions than they previously were. They have a right to choose. While many have argued that these isolated tribes deserve to be exposed to the civilized world and not left to their crude and barbaric lifestyles, many indigenous rights activists and NGOs have advocated that the right to be contacted should be initiated by the tribes alone. According to them, forced contact with uncontacted tribes is a violation of their right to self-determination as a people. The truth is, many of these tribes are fully aware of the existence of a different world that's far removed from their primitive lifestyle. Most of them, however, willfully choose not to be a part of it. In fact, contacted indigenous people frequently report that their uncontacted neighbors and relatives intentionally choose to remain uncontacted and be left alone. Legal protection. To protect these tribes from complete extinction, a few countries have imposed strict prohibitions on outsiders approaching their land. The Indian government, for instance, placed a ban on foreign activity within a 5-mile radius of North Sentinel Island. In 1967, the Brazilian government also established FUNAI, an agency responsible for protecting the rights of indigenous communities. The agency ensured that companies with personal interests in land occupied by indigenous groups and uncontacted tribes did so without infringing on the tribe's rights. However, in recent years, FUNAI has suffered continuous budget cuts, which have hampered its protective abilities.